Dear students, welcome to this video lecture. It is on Love's Philosophy by P.B. Shelley. Love's Philosophy is a poem prescribed for BCom final year, semester 5. Before reading the poem directly, uh, we will we will try to know P.B. Shelley's biography. P.B. Shelley, born in 1792 and passed away in 1822, he is well known as a romantic poet. He was born to a very wealthy middle class family, and as far as his views on life are concerned, he detested tyranny and institutionalized servitude. He possessed very radical thoughts, and once he published a tract entitled The Necessity of Atheism. And we know well that in England, the people follow Christianity, and Christianity believes in God. So, as he has written against the Christianity, he was expelled from Oxford University, and then further, as I earlier told you, that P.B. Shelley possessed very radical thoughts. So the conservative and very traditional English society could not understand what P.B. Shelley wants to say. Therefore, they were unable to tolerate the radicalism of P.B. Shelley, and at last, the traditional conservative society of UK, United Kingdom, forced P.B. Shelley to leave England permanently in 1818. He later on started writing, composing very good poems, and he achieved a distinction as a romantic poet. So, romanticism, in one of the video lectures, I have described what is romanticism. In romanticism, we find natural description, poems are written in very simple language. There are certain other features as well. In other video lecture, I will describe what is romantic poetry. So, particularly the poems of P.B. Shelley, they are very there is a remarkable blend of idealistic message, precision of imagery, and captivating melody, and expresses his ardent faith in the perfectibility of human mankind. He believed that human being is very perfect, and his poems are musical. Some of his poems, which are very famous, are Ode to the West Wind, To a Skylark, Ozymandias, The Cloud, and the stanzas written in the Dejection near Naples. These are some of his very famous poems. So, this poem, Love's Philosophy, has a very simplicity and lyrical quality that instantly appeals to the reader. In very simple terms and through commonplace images, the poet captures many representations of love in nature, the way he observes. The speaker, which is employed by the poet in the poem, talks about how everything in this universe meets and interacts with one another. The rivers mix with the ocean, the sunlight envelops the earth, and all of nature is dependent on one another. Therefore, the speaker in the poem asks, why should he and his beloved stay apart? Let me read the poem. There are two stanzas in the poem. In each stanza, there are 8 lines. It is in that way very short poem. The fountains mingle with the river, and the rivers with the ocean. The winds of heaven mix forever with a sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single, all things by a law divine. In one another's being mingle, why not I with thine? This is a question he asks at last. Then in the second stanza, he says, the poet says, "See the mountains kiss high heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother. And the sunlight clasps the earth, and the mountain beams kiss the sea. What is all this sweet work worth if thou kissest not me?" So, this is the poem I read just now. Now, let's see what in these two lines the poet wants to say. The poet begins with the first four lines describing how nature comes together. This implies that it is natural to be united, that nothing or nobody is or should be alone. It also shows a blanket connectedness, that all is connected to everything else through a chain. The chain showed here goes from a fountain to a river to the ocean. Wind is everywhere, and as being so is connected to everything. The line that follows, "Nothing in the world is single," directly states that the first four lines intended to show. It can be inferred that the speaker will testify love as another form of connection. This is also expressed as a sweet emotion in the fourth line. This exhibits some personification for the nature described at the start, as rivers and oceans do not feel emotions. However, this is used to make a point of union in nature and to set up the conveyance of the speaker's emotion. The last three lines of the first stanza serve to further indicate the speaker believes love is an important relationship between people. He or she clearly believes everything in the world naturally share a relationship. The speaker is equating the connection between the two people to that of different aspects of nature. In declaring these amorous feelings, the idea that intermingling with the object of affection should also be natural. The imagery of everything coming together was set up as an argument that the person who is the speaker loves and understand, hopefully reciprocate his or her feelings. It is specially compelling because it is through a law divine or sacred law that all bonds occur. Again, the speaker is making use of beautiful and vivid imagery to make a point. When looking at the peak of a mountain, it can indeed appear to be kissing the heavens. The speaker, however, is likely alluding to the idea of kissing the person to whom this poem is dedicated. Similar fashion, the way the waves clasp one another is a way something in love longs to hold a loved one. This goes hand in hand with the notion that the speaker is not only describing a beautiful scene in nature but also hinting at a desire. Just as different wonders in the world touch and bound this way, he or she longs to forge a similar relationship with the loved one. Then the further lines exhibit the attachment between everything. They serve to solidify the statement of the earlier line, "Nothing in the world is single." It is with that belief system that the line, "No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother," are brought forth. Just as loyalty in the bond of family is so established, the speaker believes love should demonstrate the same loyalty. The speaker believes the two should intertwine and come together just as everything else and everyone else in the world. The final lines in insinuate the love is not reciprocated. This is in keeping with the rest of the poem, in which the speaker possesses an argument using beautiful imagery and the nature of the world and its relationships. If the love is mutual, therefore would like not to be a need to make such a strong point in the declaration. This is accentuated in the final two lines, where the speaker finally admits it all pales in comparison to the kiss of the loved one. However, the poem ends with a question of significance. The speaker is pointing out that these other connections may be great and wonderful, but they crumble due to the fact he or she cannot receive true love's kiss. Unfortunately, the speaker is single. Unlike the earlier lines of the poem, nothing in the world is single. The poem establishes itself as an epitome of romance with such grand illustrations and emotions. In short, the poem is about the importance and the organic qualities of relationships. This is prominent through the imagery used throughout the poem as well as the declaration of love. The fact the love is likely unreciprocated also highlights the importance of relationships. The speaker feels dull and cannot appreciate the beauty of what is being described due to the feeling of rejection. It serves to push forth the idea that love and relationships are of the utmost importance in one's life. Here the poem ends. We'll stop.